Hi guys, so in this video I'll be teaching you how to cut a shirt, the pocket, the band, alright, using just 1 yard of Ankara fabric. Welcome back to my channel. So the first thing you need is the measurement, and you need the waist, the hip and the length. And for our waist we'll be using our hip measurement. For our hip we'll be using our actual hip, which is 42 plus 4 inches additional measurement and 1 inch as the sewing allowance. For my length, at the end of the day I want it to be 17 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to fold and then mark 1.5. This 1.5 is an indicator of my folding at the base of my shirt. I'm going to mark 1.5 at this side, and I'm also going to mark 1.5 at this side. This technique helps you to manage your fabric, your 1 yard fabric. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is to first measure 15 inches, because the total measurement here is around 33.5. I'm going to measure 15 inches, 15.5 for my front. So this is 15.5. all right, I'll rule it out. So this part will be the front, while this will be the back. So this is 15.5. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, I remember for the folding I use the highest point of my measurement. Yes, what I folded was my hip measurement. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark out my crotch area, and for my crotch I'll be using 11.5. all right, now I'm measuring this. Remember the hip, I'm measuring 42 as the hip, that's why I'm using 11.5 for my crotch. So I'm going to trace it out, trace the hip and rule out. So this is the crotch and this is the hip. The next thing I'm going to do is, for the waist I'll be using my 42 inches. I'm at 42, add 1 inch allowance. For my hip I'll be using 42 plus 4, which is 46, plus my 1 inch allowance, and then I'm going to mark it all the way to the length of my shirt. Now for this particular point, that's the length at that base, I'm going to minus 1 inch just so I could give a curve. Now remember, if you're going to cut a free short, you don't need to give this curve, you just have to cut it straight. But here I want it to be a bit tight on the lap area. Coming here, I will mark a straight line, then reduce it by 1, 2. all right, I'll reduce it by 1, and then I'll mark. This just gives it that illusion that it is tight. You could see how I'm extending the line at the folding part. You will understand why I'm marking out that line like that. All right, now the first thing I'm going to do is to cut. I'll trace out what I have already marked. Now to finish it up, this is my joining allowance, and you saw that when I was marking it I removed hand. Now this is when I'll have to trim it very well. This allows you not to over or undercut it, all right, so that when you fold it, it can fold very well without not gaping. Now for the back, remember the back is always wider. So I shifted my fabric, extended my lines. First of all, remember we iron and we notch in our class. So while I'm done, the next thing I'm going to do is to extend my lines, because I shifted the fabric. Then I'll place my front panel on the back panel, and then I will recut. I'll measure and then I'll recut. I'll iron. Okay, ironing is very important as you're cutting. Now next thing I'm going to do now is to take out my 1 inch using that ruler measurement. Now I'm going to, this is 1 inch, and I'm extending the back. This back I'm extending allows you, when you wear your shirt, your bum bum will not drag it down. Okay, I will extend one here, then extend the hip line, extend the crotch line, then come down on this crotch line, mark 3 inches, still on this crotch line, on this hip line I mark 2.5, and then I will extend my lines. I'll curve it. This line looks like it's straight, but it's not straight, so you can curve it. You have to curve your line. So on this crotch, this is me just curving my line. Now on this crotch line, I'm going to come down by 0.75 and then extend my crotch line to that part. All right, then from there I mark 3 inches and then mark it all the way. At that base I marked 2 inches, so I'm connecting it just like you've seen what I'm doing. Now if it's also going to be a straight free short, you just have to go straight. Just go straight. You don't need to curve at that base. All right, I'm just trying to show you what I did there, nothing much. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to now trace out my lines, and I hope at this point is well understood and well explained. If you have any question, please feel free to ask me on the comment section and I will make sure that I answer further. Now I'm done tracing out, and now the next thing I'm going to do is coming on the front panel, I'm going to reduce it by 1, all right, and then extend it to the line. I'm not extending it all the way, I'm extending it to where my sewing allowance starts. Now I'm going to do all my notching. This notching is very, very important as it is a guide when you're joining. It helps you greatly when you're joining. Coming here, I'm going to fold it like this. This way it allows me to test run that the crotch line of the front and the back is merging together. So I'll fold it this way and then I will trim it off. From for here, the back seems to be longer, so I trimmed it to also merge with the front. So that's the reason why I do that. So here I'll just trim it off so that everything will align. Just a little trim off here and there so that everything will align. All right, and that's that on how to cut your shirt. The next thing we're going to do now is to create the pocket line. So for the pocket, I'm going to take out the front panel only, and then I'll mark 1.5 as the width and then 6.5 as the length of my pocket, and I'm going to curve it just like what I'm doing here, 1.5 to 6.5. So that's it, and I'll curve. So this is showing you how to cut the pocket, and on my next video I'm going to show you how to fix this pocket. It's unfortunate that it's not going to be in this video because it will make it way too long. So watch out for my next video on how to fix that pocket in detail. So now this is me sewing. So for me to sew, I'm marking out what I need to sew. So this is the back panel. So I started from where I notched it at the tip, connecting it all the way to the crotch. Now this is the front panel, and I'll first mark 6.5. That 6.5, you will see what I'm doing. On that 6.5, I will go in a bit because it helps to control the bulge that you see in front of your trouser. Okay, so that's that. So now I'm going to work the band, and for today's tutorial I'll be using 2 inches band. All right, so I'm going to cut out my band on the Ankara. Now because we are using 2 inches of band, I will have to cut 2.5. The half there is for the joining, where you're joining, okay, when you are joining it to the waist. So now I'm done cutting the 2.5, and I will notch. Please notch, it helps you greatly when you're joining. All right, so this is the length of my band. Okay, I exceeded more. Now this is for the pocket. Remember I said in my next video I'm going to show you how to join the pocket, but here I'm going to show you how to cut the pocket. So in this tutorial we're learning the short cutting of the short, the band, and the pocket. That's like a full cut. So here I have 12 inches. I'm going to cut 12 to 12 and a half inches. I did 12 and a half here as the length, and then 9 as the width. Okay, now I'm going to place my front panel on it, bring back that cutout, all right, and then cut. Just what I'm doing is quite simple. Now I'm gonna cut and then notch, very important, and then remove out this, pick out only the 2 in front, and then as I've picked it out, okay, because it's 4 in total, but I picked 2, and then record the shape of my pocket curve, and that's it. Now I'm going to now shape my pocket. So what I'm going to do is from that shape of my curve, I'll mark 3.5, connect it to the base, all right, and then cut, because this is the shape I want to give my pocket. And then here I'm going to curve this, and the curve using 1.5 as a curve. So that 1.5 curve simply allows your pocket to be independent when it's inside. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is to shape my pocket, and this is based on preference. I love doing this. I love the shape of my pocket to be curved. Yours can be squared, yours can be any shape you want, but this is the shape that I want it. Now I'm going to go ahead to notch, especially when you're not working with the fabric, you're working with, here I'm working with a taffeta fabric. Okay, so you know that taffeta is a light fabric, so it's important to notch and then indicate the back. So here I've notched and I've indicated the back. So the next thing I'm going to do is to show you how I'm going to lay it. But watch out for my next video where you could see a detailed video on how to fix your pocket and even do the facing. Okay, so this is the pieces that I'll be using to do my facing. And this is how you cut your trouser. Let me know if there's any question and I'll be willing to answer in the comment section. Bye.